Okay, so how about flipping over to you guys now and having a go? Just with next doors, I don't mind getting stuck in and involved in peer discussions as well, just for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes each with your partner, just a similar conversation. One of you be the pharmacy professional, the other one be the peer, and switch over after 5 minutes, and then we'll sort of wrap up and then enable any questions as well, if that's all right. So, yeah, crack on, yeah.
You can do 3.
I can join in here as well. Let's flap around. If there's odd numbers, we'll chip it. Okay. How are you? Good. I'll use the pin.
I work in academia as well, so I practice pharmacy for a long time. And CCG deputy medicine management. So that's my background. So I'm very old.
Yeah, so I am, but I was just saying, when you talk about discussion about it, because I think of it about we might in my role, because I
Plenty of openings at the moment. Should be alright.
if there was not this new thing you do, we
So that's about 5 minutes. Do you want to swap? So do you want to swap peer discussions now with the next person for 5 minutes? These are peer? Have you already done it? No, fine. Good. That's fine. Switch roles.
I suppose a bit more optimism and I always, I've just said it as a rule, I always just say, at the point of discharge, we'll return all your medications to you, unless there's anything that's been changed. Just because I think, if I'm in that bed, I'm going to think, oh, hang on a minute, she's just locked my bag in there, she's got the...
That's a bit of the role played up, which is great. I just want to give us at least, we've got 10 minutes left, so just a few comments and the last bit aside, and any questions you might have after that. But I personally heard some great conversations. It sounded like everyone was having an absolute ball here. It sounded like everyone was having good fun. And it was really good, because I obviously get nervous about this type of way. Are people going to talk? But pharmacists are generally quite a confident bunch of people anyway. So it was good. It was great to hear. So I suppose just some tips, and please do contribute as well if you've got any other suggestions or ideas. Point one was just sort of, what learning have you been doing so far this year when preparing for it, or what do you plan to learn within the year? That could be a really good thing to talk about as part of your peer discussion as well, and how you would apply it to your day-to-day clinical practice. I often say, we talk about barriers, talk about successes, challenges within these within the year or the role that you've had. How has it impacted on people and using? How has it impacted you on an individual? But what have you learned from that process? And that could be an area or topic that you may want to focus on as well. Point 3 was thinking about compliments, feedbacks, awards you may have won, feedback you got from GP colleagues, patients as well, patient survey feedback, but also any incidents that may have happened as well. I'll be first to admit that we've had some stuff in general practice that could have gone better, but what we've done from it is learn from it, documented it, understand where we can improve our process. That's just simple clinical governance. Within the GP service that we've been working in, and we were sure not to make those incidents or those mistakes in the future. So another good area to think about. I always say, go back to your registration standards, your GPHC standards. What criteria have you met? Have you superseded? And how has it benefited the patients? A great area that you can talk about in a discussion with the other healthcare professional, even with the pharmacy professional as well, I think is quite useful. And lastly, have you done any quality improvement activities in the practice or in any way of your clinical practice that's helped benefit users? We've done some stuff around identification of undiagnosed hypertensive patients within the surgery. And we've managed to identify about 150 undiagnosed hypertensive patients over the last 12 months from pharmacists doing some good audit work and quality improvement projects, and that's one of the things I will probably be discussing as part of my peer-to-peer review with one of my GP colleagues as well. So think about some of those things. There's just some top tips to think about before preparing or when you're going into these type of things. And like I said, give it some time to marinate within your head about the approach and the structure you're going to deliver within some of these peer-to-peer discussions, because I think we all probably found that a bit valuable. I found I learned something from my colleague as well by doing it as well. So I just suppose some resources and extra information. So the GPHC have done some great stuff around resource development, around CPD, about peer-to-peer discussion. Easy to read, it's not too jargony, it's not information heavy. I got a lot of the information for the slides there from the GPHC website as well. I don't think you need to even be an RPS member to gain the support that they are offering through RPS support, and the resources that are available for free online as well. And there are some really good templates of how to have a peer-to-peer discussion as well. And I know the PCPA are likely to develop some very similar resources for primary care in the not so distant future equally. So I suppose I wanted to just be able to, so I know we've got about 5 minutes left and I'll whip through that last slide, but 5 minutes just to have any questions. We've got GPHC here, any advice, any sort of suggestions you may have as well, feel free to ask.
Just additionally, with the RPS, I think the examples are through RPS membership.
Okay.
But there are some things available on the hub, but their examples are through membership. And also RPS have actually done a record system as well, and also part of their app. So sometimes you can do stuff on the go, and they're doing some e-learning as well, so which you could use for your CPD cycles. But that's all through RPS membership. And the good thing about the RPS records for your CPD, it can be transferred into your faculty application as well. So the two things will tie in together, so you haven't got to put two portfolios together at all.
Yeah, the other thing about that record transferring is that that's something that we're planning on adding in as extra functionality to the My GPHD system, so that other record receptacles that you might be using will be able to transfer the information into us. Now, you would need to make the decision to do that each year, so you need to do that in their system, transfer it to us, come into our system and renew your registration. What that hopefully will do over time is reduce the need for dual recording. We haven't been able to turn that on for the first renewal window that the majority of you are going to go through on the 31st of October this year. But before you come to your second renewal under revalidation, you'll be able to do this.
I have a
Yes.
question. I'm a pharmacy technician and regulated by GPHC. 31st of October is coming soon.
Yep.
Is this new method of revalidation up for scope for review?
So it is up for review. But we've only just launched it in April, so it's in a relatively fixed state.
What
now.
is the period of time before you revisit it and see does it work?
It will be a minimum of 5 years
5
before we get good data out about whether it's having its real impact through a 2-stage evaluation process. But what we might get in the earlier period of that, about 2 to 3 years, is feedback from you, which will help us make small changes to it. We can't make big changes because we need to consult upon it, and we need good data before we can make proposals about what to change. So that'll probably be around 5 years that I'll start to see that data coming through. It's a really slow process, this evaluation one. Just to let you know, it's a bit different from the other regulators' evaluation process here, because you're going to be writing reflections, and each one of those reflections will be telling us about the difference you think your activity has made for the people you define as using your services. None of the other regulators get access to that level of detail, and so we'll be able to start codifying that each year and using that to understand whether or not the types of activities we're asking you to do have an impact on the people who use your services. So that's a new set of data and a new way to evaluate that no one's ever been able to do before. So it's quite, in a nerdy regulatory way, quite exciting.
And that will be shared with its members?
Yeah, that's right. So we'll be feeding that learning back to everybody. Anybody selected for review will get the tailored feedback, and then we'll give for the whole register bite-sized chunks of feedback as well. Really good example of some things that we're getting from the insight we gain as a regulator is that, yes, 44,000 people have managed to do their first time login, but quite a large chunk of people don't have online skills at all and don't know what the difference between Google and GPHC is. And so they're ringing us up and asking us those kind of questions. There's actually a piece of learning there for the register as a whole. Encourage each other to do online learning as a methodology, because what that means is that you'll probably be providing better services to a public who are ready for the 21st century, because it seems like there are portions of our register who may not yet be ready for that scenario.
Thank you.
Can I be very cheeky, and I'm sorry to bore us as an academic? What facility do you have for pharmacy students to do this?
So at the moment, they don't have access to the portal, but we're redeveloping everything, which includes our pre-registration training portal. The other thing that we've done is we've made all the resources available online so that anyone can look at them, and we're working on the initial education and training standards at the moment and engaging with the schools through that route as well. Yeah, we're going to end up with a seamless transition, but we're doing it in phases, if that makes sense. So from initial training, pharmacy technician and pharmacist, people should be gaining the skills to be able to integrate into the revalidation process, but they'll just gain access to the full system at the point they join the register, but we want them to see it in the pre-registration training year as well.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question? It's probably something really thick. But who is it that actually reviews the submitted
That
work
is
that comes
not a big
in?
question at all. It's one of the most important questions. We've changed the review process from the way it was. It used to be one reviewer, pharmacist or pharmacy technician or layperson, randomly allocated to you. So they might have known about your contacts of practice, they might not have. They were trained to do their job and they're really good reviewers, and we're keeping them on actually. But what we're doing is we're increasing the pool so that you will always be reviewed by 2 people now. The right person for your part of the register, so pharmacist for pharmacist, pharmacy technician, and a lay reviewer, who all of whom will be trained to do their jobs and have the right credentials to do that job as well, being able to look at reflective statements and provide feedback on them. But they are going to be people who really understand that, and that we're going to quality assure their work now with that paired review process, then 100% quality review of every report that's produced, and then a 10% further quality check on that as well. So that means we should be giving you consistent but tailored feedback about how it is that you're doing.
Because I always use it in the back of my mind is, what if they don't understand what it is I do? So I tend to make it too detailed, very wordy, just to try and, I was trying to think if somebody didn't know what the job was.
Yeah.
And and it's quite labour intensive then.
Yeah.
When you've got 45
Yeah.
to do the weekend before it's due.
Anyone did that. But yeah, like, keep in mind, keep it clear. Make it so that somebody who only sees those written words understands what you've written, but somebody who understands what you do will be involved in that process. They will help explain that to the layperson as well.
I can go the other way and say, if I write too little, you let us know. Because I like bullet pointing and make things very clear rather than word. I mean, it's just a different style of writing. You can get the message across
we're not assessing your style of writing, and I know that lots of pharmacy professionals like bullet point lists, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine as a method, and it did just as well in our pilot as it did for the more prose written ones. But what we heard was that people given the permission to write prose quite like it, and in fact my job of reviewing our examples has actually been editing out a lot of information that we don't need to go in there. It seems to take around about 200 to 600 words for somebody to be able to meet the requirements. People averaging out around about 400 therefore, just so you know.
There's one more question.
In terms of feedback, previously it was percentages, and what sort of...
You can't assess reflection in that way. It's just not possible. It was there, I think, to kind of appeal to a mindset within pharmacy professionals of competition. We do love competition, but it just doesn't really work for this, so it's not going to be that. It's all about verbal feedback that's written down for you to take away and then apply later.
And would there be, is there tiers that, yes, you have met the standards, no, you haven't?
There is a kind of internal measure that we use, which is somebody's engaged sufficiently or somebody is not engaged sufficiently. Sufficient engagement means that somebody would then be able to have a 2-year period off of being potentially reviewed. You still need to submit, but you definitely won't be reviewed for 2 years. If you haven't effectively engaged, we might then decide that we want to review you the next year or include you in the random sample in the following year. So it's an encouragement to improve at that point, because we will pay.
It won't be random then, will it?
Yes, absolutely. Everybody gets clear statements about whether you are subject to review or given what we call the 2-year fallow.
Possibly be that.
Fab. Excellent. Well, I think that's time. So I'd like to thank my lovely presenters and my role players and you all for engaging.